Welcome to another episode of the Intentional Intern Podcast. I'm super excited to get back into it with you guys this week, especially since school is right around the corner. We'll be covering something that we're all aiming towards, especially those in university, which is the title of being a recent grad. We love grad season, and this week's interviewee is Mallory Strmel, a recent graduate from the University of South Carolina, specifically the Darla School of Business. While there, she majored in entrepreneurship management and marketing. Throughout the episode, Mallory and I talk about her college journey to consulting, valuable lessons through her professional development, stepping out of her comfort zone to embrace change, and as always, so much more. Mallory is such a confident and radiant person who values community and creating an impact throughout her career. You can tell through her energy on the podcast that she's both a creative and analytical leader, constantly challenging herself to stay on top in her career aspirations. For those who want to connect with Mallory, her LinkedIn and amazing portfolio will be linked below. Let's get into today's episode. Hi, Mallory. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great today. I'm very happy it's Friday. Yeah, everything's going pretty good. Adjusting to post-grad life has been fun. You know, I have a part-time job now. Been working on some freelance stuff, hang out with my friends. It's been a great summer so far.
Awesome. I love to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Speaking of all the other things that you've been doing, I really appreciate you taking your time to be on the podcast and coming to share a little bit more about yourself and what you're up to after post-grad life with us today.
Thank you, thank you. Love the mission, girls supporting girls. So very happy to be here.
I love that too. So yeah, to start our audience off, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and just who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everyone listening from all around. My name is Mallory Strmel. I am a recent graduate, which is so crazy to me to say, of the University of South Carolina, where I majored in entrepreneurship management and marketing in the Darla School of Business. While at USC, I really took on my analytical mindset and creative skill set and way of thinking to take every advantage of the opportunities given to me in college, such as becoming a member of my college's undergraduate consulting club, which I think we can talk a little bit about later, but that really helped accelerate my career journey into for the professional services industry and creative consulting as a whole. I went from someone who really didn't believe in myself to a person who was able to use the skill set gained in college and use the great words and advice given by my friends and mentors to take on my roles in internships, in engagements, as well as in a full-time position after graduation, which is now.
Wow. Congratulations for
Thank
everything.
you. Yeah, you too.
Wow. That's amazing. You talk just even how you talked about yourself. Uh, those are the type of introductions that I live for those of just so casual, but like so confident about, yeah, I do all these things and this is my mission and everything I want to do. Love it.
It's been a journey. Let me tell you, the first time I ever had to do a tell me about yourself was in a class that I took. It was BADM 301, which is like introduction to career, like global careers or something like that, which was a really cool class, which is like, hey, here's how you set up a LinkedIn. Here's how you do an interview. Here's how you negotiate salary. And I remember just sitting down because this time it was like, write a tell me about yourself. I'm like, I go to school. I don't know, but I wish I still had that like a recording from what I was doing and could compare it to now, because even comparing my resumes from last year to now, it's crazy how much I can see myself growing from either the perspective of like hiring manager or someone who works in a corporate sphere, and even personally as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really interesting topic to think about. Like now that I think about it, I feel like we never think about our inner collegiate child in that way.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Of
Hmm.
this is where I was, this is where I am now. And on that topic of, where you used to be, how did you get to consulting now? So how did that start?
So, when I was younger, it was very much a creative problem solver. I was just always someone like that who was looking for problem or solutions to problems that other people didn't really see as problems. And then when I got to high school in my small town, there weren't really that many courses to expose you to the business world. Really, the tracks that you could take if you were a somewhat high achieving student, or do you want to be a doctor, or do you want to be a lawyer? So my freshman year of high school, I all throughout high school, I really don't think I left the campus or the building. It wasn't really a campus until about 5 p.m. each day. I did soccer, volleyball, yearbook, just tried to pour my energy out into things where I could express myself and work on developing myself professionally, even when I didn't really know what that meant. So, my freshman year, I joined my high school's mock trial team and really fell in love with it. I loved the aspect of advocating for others. I loved the aspect of getting up in front of a jury of your peers that you might have never even met or seen before and giving an opening statement and being able to work on someone's behalf. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a lawyer. That's so cool. So, applying to colleges, I applied to a lot of them with the intention of doing pre law, however, in the business sphere. My father, my biggest inspiration, he is an entrepreneur. When he came back from the US Navy, he started his own transportation business with, I think, like a $1,000 loan from my grandma. And he was able to really build out that business. Now they're finishing up the 30-year mortgage, which so cool. I was very proud of him for that. They now have around, or he now has around 27 cars in his fleet and really strives to give all of his customers and guests the best possible experience they can. And because of my dad, who had no formal business education, I really wanted to go into a business school to learn the foundations of how that works, of starting up a business, funding, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I chose the program that I was in of entrepreneurship management. Then, when I got there, I joined the school's mock trial team. I went to a few pre law events, but I slowly realized that my skill set that I had been building didn't really mesh well with the legal field. I loved advocating for people, I loved creating new things and looking for new solutions. But I really, through my experiences, I really found that law wasn't for me. And I wish that I had found consulting earlier. I really do. So, how I eventually ended up getting into consulting, the point of the question, was my good friend came into my introduction to entrepreneurship class and came and spoke to us and stated, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, but now I do. She said, if you've ever felt in between, if you've ever felt like your skill set could work somewhere in a more creative space, then this might be for you. So after hearing that speech, I think I called my mom, was like, okay, I know what I'm going to do with my life. And she's just like, okay, cool, have fun. And I ended up trying out that semester for my school's consulting club. So what I did was really worked on case interviews, watched videos online, and I was so excited. I was like, yes, I'm gonna do this. And then unfortunately, that semester I did not get in. However, the semester after, I realized I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be serious about this, if I'm going to create this life that I know that I want, if I'm going to be able to help people, I'm going to go for it. So it was actually the final domino that convinced me to go back out for GCC was my friend Kelvin, who I actually considered to be a mentor of mine during the onboarding process for Consulting Club. He said to me, hey, look, I know it didn't work out this time, but I could really see you doing well in this club. So I went back out, gave the interviews my all, did 10 times more preparation, and ended up being a part of the club. Once I was in, I met my mentor, Lauren, who currently works with Accenture in Charlotte, as well as members of my onboarding class. And through that experience, I really felt empowered to be around a group of people that were all working towards the same goal. And it didn't feel competitive like law did. It didn't feel like, hey, let's all try to apply to this school and see who gets in. It was really, hey, like, let's sit down and let's run a case together. I can help you with this. Like, let's work on some mental math. And what I really love about consulting, whether it be in the financial services space or the creative space, is that you're always really working in a team. And through my internship I had with a marketing and advertising consulting agency, I found that not only were my ideas accepted, they were really valued within the grand scheme of each project. So being in a place where your ideas can be valued, whether is a club, a university program, or an internship, is such a great experience that I recommend everybody search for. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to get it. So yeah, that's my story.
Yeah. I mean, uh, I love literally stories like this where you can see in every chapter of your life of like you were creating your own opportunity as you
Yes.
moved along of
Yes.
knowing what you wanted to do. And I really appreciate that on the back end for everybody who doesn't know, Mallory shared her portfolio with me of what she's been up to, what does she do. And I really, really loved something that you put in your portfolio that's literally at the header of creating your yes.
Yes.
And your testament and your story right now, I can envision that and visualize you creating your yes as you were going along, like throughout your journey to consulting.
Absolutely. I think my whole college experience has really been about creating my yes, and even my post grad experience as well. Just thinking about, I remember so vividly sitting, I don't know how many people can relate to this, probably everyone, sitting down and applying for college scholarships and just getting email after email like, sorry, you didn't qualify. You're not going to get this, blah, 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 blah. It's actually, I was so happy to get my scholarship to the University of South Carolina. I never actually stepped foot in the state of South Carolina before I accepted my admission, which is crazy to me. Yeah, I really wanted to go to USC because it was a big school and I knew that I'd be able to find these opportunities and create them for myself in an environment where I knew I could grow. Like, another thing I put in my portfolio, sounds like a cliche, but I've never believed in bloom where you're planted or try to make the best of the situation that you're in. Sometimes all it takes is a push or a change of environment to really find what gives you a spark.
Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in that too. Like, you don't have to stay in the space that you've always been in order to change, which I think is so useful to remember, especially because, like, I think one of the things that I remember in quotes is just like the people who go insane are the people who stay in the same spot or the same situation, but expect a different outcome without doing anything to make that outcome.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, while I was in college and outside of school as well, I've had so many opportunities that I've created for myself where I just said like, "Hey, this isn't really working." And sometimes when I find myself in that situation, I'm able to speak to the people in charge or speak to my team and just say, "Hey, like, how can we work on this? Like, how can we work to make it a better environment for everyone?" But sometimes all it takes is like seeing a new environment. So I did competitive volleyball for I think 3 years, and I didn't realize how much it was draining, or 3 years in high school, and then did
Mhm.
volleyball for that. That's not the point. I didn't realize how much it was draining me until after I got out and I just played pickup volleyball with my friends, and there was no coach on the sidelines saying, "Hey, you didn't do that right, do 20 push-ups." It's
Mm.
just all about, I use that as kind of an analogy of, there, even when you really love something and you find yourself really putting your energy into it and enjoying what you're doing, sometimes when you're doing it in a different environment, it can be so much better for your mental health and so much better for the team that you're helping and supporting.
No, exactly. And I think that even shows to your point of it's different when you're in a different place of how adaptable things can be as long as you push yourself to kind of go out of that comfort zone
Mhm.
and really realize that you have the potential to do whatever it is. It just, again, maybe the space that you're in, it may be the mindset you're in, it may be the situation that you're in. And all of that stuff is achievable, especially with your potential when you recognize those things. And sometimes those can be the hardest blockers or the hardest steps to go over, even though they say they are simple in theory of, saying those out loud is a little simple, but they're not. And hats off to you for going to a place that you've never been and wanting to spend a majority, a big part of how we all end up transforming through college, like such a transformative time, and choosing to do that somewhere else. I have to give you your props for that. I did not do that. But I think, like, for me, it's super hard to think about just picking up my life and then going somewhere else. But I always commend people who are able to do that and are
Mhm.
able to flourish and seeing the results of that. And in speaking on that potential, I know one of the things that you covered on your portfolio was kind of acknowledging your potential in leading, in leadership. And so, how do you feel that you've kind of done that in molding your potential and recognizing that and transforming that into the leader that you are today?
Exactly. I think that is such a great question. One of my favorite topics that I love talking about. I always think back to like when I was younger, I would put myself out for like stuff that I thought really mattered in the moment, but didn't end up mattering in the long run. Like, oh, treasurer of a club, something for student council. When I got to college, I was like, okay, I don't really see myself as a leader. I think I'm just gonna work on some more opportunities, like join some clubs and just take a back seat and let whoever wants to do everything. I quickly found out that that wasn't me at all. I'm never somebody who really takes a backseat to things I'm passionate about. And I like went out for some leadership positions in a few different clubs that I was in, and I didn't end up getting it. At the time, I was really kicking myself and putting myself down and being like, oh, they didn't want me as a leader, blah, 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 blah. But, that rejection, and even from internships and from scholarship programs, I think I talked about a little bit earlier, it kind of just motivated me to work a little bit harder. I always joke that I have horrible luck. If any of you listening speak French, the name Mallory quite literally means bad luck. Um, yeah, my parents like we're not French, but they just really like the name. Like I don't meet many other Mallorys, so like it's cool and unique. Like I'll give them that. But I sometimes I go into things with this mindset of like, all right, I already know this isn't gonna work out. Like I'll try it for a little bit, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. However, in college, I'm super happy that I saw that changing for myself because not only were there others that saw my potential and were willing to mentor me and help me and be a part of my support system, I also started to see that potential within myself. One of the like specific moments that I point to in this was when I was in a competition, my sophomore team competition, my freshman year, actually. And I had just like muted, it's all on Zoom because COVID kids. Woo. Um, I, our mic was muted, and I said something to the team where I was like, hey, we need to change our strategy here. Let's do it like this. And then once we did that, the team got a lot of recognition from the judges. I didn't get the recognition. I didn't care about the recognition, but seeing that my inputs and my work really helped motivate others, I think that was really a turning point for me. Because I could be like, hey, like, I'm not the one that's getting all the awards here. I can use my leadership skills and my ideas to help others and work as part of a team. The moment that really taught me that I had the potential to be a leader and be someone that people look up to was a totally off the cuff comment from one of my friends, and he just said, "Hey, like, do you want to talk about how you got your internship? I really look up to you for that." And I was like, "Oh, me? Like, you want to talk to me?" At that moment, I was like, what in the world? But I sat down, I had a conversation with him about how I went through the application process. And this is when I was a corporate comms intern for an amazing insurance company and had a lot of fun. I talked to him about that process, and he goes, "Thank you so much." And he actually ended up getting a great internship for the summer after. And I'm like, okay, if I'm able to help one person, maybe I can be a leader. And yeah.
Yeah. I think a big part of being a leader that a lot of people don't talk about, but we also recognize is important to being a leader is being able not only to just be the front runner and lead yourself, but to lead others as well and know how to do that.
Mhm.
That's a huge thing. And I literally, when you were talking about how someone asked you, "Oh, hey, can I talk to you about this?" And you're like, "Me? You want to talk to me?" I'm the same way when people will reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, like, I really would love to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh, like,
I know, literally, I was joking with my friend. I was like, "Oh my gosh, baby's first cold LinkedIn DM." It's so nice. Like, I like it. Yeah.
exactly." It's like how you're recognizing, like, I'm someone now, like when I used to be on that side of the stick,
Yes,
and
yes.
most of the time I still am on that side of the stick. But in the cases where I'm not, and I'm the person that people are looking to for information, guidance, advice, support, it makes me even more happy because I have such a commonality with them in being able to have that duality where I remember being there. And I feel grateful to have that to where I'm still close enough to I can remember that exact feeling because 9 times out of 10, I probably went through it yesterday.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think like you mentioned grateful, and I think that's just the best feeling, and the most over encompassing feeling for everything that I've had in my personal and professional experience. Even just like I take some time every day to just remember how grateful I am for my family, my mom and dad. They've really just supported me throughout my whole college journey. My friends, I have a great support system. I'm very thankful for. As well, I'm just really grateful for the opportunities that I've been given and the opportunities that I've worked to find myself. I've done a lot of engagement experiences that weren't necessarily like for credit or for like a payment. I've just really like put myself out there and been like, hey, if you need any help with this, if you need any help with that. One example that I can think of was there was a graduate student that was hosting a conference on blockchain technology, and I joined a Zoom just to see how the planning for that went because I'm like, hey, like I've never planned a big event before. Like that would be really cool to do. And the grad student went around and was like, hey, like name and major. I joke about that. Like every single thing college introduction is like, hi, name and major. Maybe name major. I don't know. So name and major. And I was like, hey, I'm Mallory, like management and marketing. And he's like, how about you do all of the marketing for this conference? And I was just kind of like, whoa, like I don't even know you, like overwhelmed, but we were able to work about a manageable schedule for that. And through that conference, the organizer said, like, hey, I designed this logo and everything. We're going to hop on a Zoom with a person who works at a marketing firm in New York City to talk about promotion plans. And I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. So I got on that other Zoom because who doesn't love Zoom? And this woman who actually ended up being one of my greatest mentors in my professional experience was on there. And we went through a whole client call, and she messaged me on the side and was like, hi, if you ever like to talk about an internship, let me know. I was like, oh my God, like, wait, what's an internship? I met with her a few weeks later. After 4 interviews, I was granted an internship with the Riccardi Group, an amazing B2B professional services firm that I learned so much from. And wholeheartedly credit a lot of my success and professional development to in that. And it's all because I joined a Zoom call randomly on Sunday.
I
Yeah.
love that. Wow. That's a huge story, I think.
Mhm.
Because it just goes to show, like, literally, you never know. Even if it seems like one of the most one off, oddball things,
Yeah,
take it. Just do it. Like,
exactly.
you never
Exactly.
you never know what it'll lead to. And
Mhm.
it seems like you have had, like you talked about, a really great support system, a great sense of community, not just in community with your family and your friends, but also your community of personal development experiences that you've been able to have throughout internships. And so I want to know, from your perspective, what do you think have been some of the biggest, like most valuable things that you've learned within your professional development that your internships and your experience is giving you? Things that are very valuable that other people should look for too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think some of the biggest things that I've learned throughout my professional development journey and my professional development experiences is just to know, kind of in the same vein that we were talking about, just to take, when you're taking opportunities, every person that you meet could be a potential connection or could be someone that you could reach out to. So I think another like huge story that I like to tell as part of my journey was I was in my intro to marketing class, like basic 4 Ps, all that fun stuff. And we had a guest speaker that was one of the upperclassmen marketing professors. So he came in and he was just like, if anyone wants to talk about career trajectories or wants to review your resume, like email me. And at the time, I was like, okay, I'm not really looking for an internship, not really looking for anything, but I'll just email him and talk to him and we'll see what's going on. So I reached out to this professor and I went in to go meet him. And he looks at my resume and he's like, okay, this is cool. Like, you're a sophomore, you've done a few things. How about internships for this upcoming summer? And I was just like, I've been applying, haven't really been hearing anything. And I remember so vividly, he hands me this wheel. It's like, all right, here are all the careers you could go to in marketing. Like, you might want to start here. And I was like, I don't know if I want to start there. I don't really know what I'm doing. So, just that one meeting with the professor, he looks at my resume and he's like, oh, you should take my class next time it's offered for marketing strategy and planning, which you have to have senior standing to take. But I was able to take it junior year, second semester. So I enrolled in his class having no idea what to expect. I've gone through created marketing plans before, but never done anything to that extent because the class that I was taking involved a real world client. I was super, super excited for it. So we get in on day one and we find out that our client is Brown Forman, the Coca Cola Company, and Breakthrough Beverage, South Carolina. And we are the team tasked with creating an integrated marketing plan for the launch of canned Jack and Coke in South Carolina. And I was just like, oh my God, like, that's so cool. Like, I love Coca-Cola. Like, I don't know. I never really had like whiskey to that point, which is funny because one of my part-time job now, I work at a bourbon and whiskey bar. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, so literally just having that one meeting with the professor because he's like, hey, reach out if you want to. And I was so scared. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, this guy doesn't know me. I haven't had any cool internships or anything. I'm scared. Don't be scared to reach out to people that are outside of your network. Don't be scared to reach out to your professors. Like, even if you're in a class that you really don't know a lot about, professors are always there for you and they're always open to connect you with resources, connect you with maybe your school's career center or other professors that have worked in your same field. I think everything really changed for me and I realized that these people in college that are the ones grading your papers, like, they're not out to get you. Like, they're here to help you succeed. They want you to love their class and they want you to really enjoy them as teachers and as people. So, really creating and cultivating these relationships with staff at your college, or if you're in an internship with your supervisors, or any people that might be able to help you, like creating those relationships as early as you can, even when you have no idea like what you're talking about or what you want your life to be, is going to help you soar. I think is the best thing.
Yeah. I think that speaks to the same sentiment that we talked about earlier, just going out and doing that and the value and the power of relationships in that way. I firmly believe that anybody who says that they see potential in you, they see great things in you, keep them around. Like,
Yes, yes.
even if it's something small, even if it's like a check in every couple months or something like that, of just acknowledging that, because nobody is paid to say those things about you. Nobody
Mm,
has to say those things about you. And the power of people's voice in saying that, we say this all the time of like, words and actions are very, very powerful, but like, hearing stuff and the power of your voice is so important. And
mm,
even down to the little things of like what we consider of, when you say I love you to somebody, that is so important and so
yeah.
emotional. And we hold space for that. We should hold the same space when people say I see something in you, because they don't have to.
I think something that was so impactful for me was seeing my impact on others, even when I didn't know that I was helping them, or that I was working or that I was impacting their success. So I'm trying to think of an example of that, but even in my social sorority, I would have girls that I met on bid day or on a professional development workshop, and I'd be like, hey, like you should really take this class, or you should join this club. And I'd have people that talk to me and they're like, hey, like your advice really helped. Like, I'm super glad to have you as somebody that I can look up to. And just hearing that from people is so rewarding, because I'm trying to help them in their future, but I'm also just saying what I feel, and knowing that people take what I feel, and knowing that in a more general sense, people taking what you feel to heart is just such a good feeling, because you know that your mind is pointed in the right place.
Exactly.
Philosophical.
No, exactly. And I love the angle that you come from. And even in how you talk and how you carry yourself, it's just so refreshing almost,
Thank you.
because,
Thank you.
yeah, even throughout our conversation, this is something that probably a lot of interviewers won't say. I'm so happy that I really have not had to ask so many questions, because
Cool.
you've answered them so eloquently in a way that you're so multidimensional in where you speak, where the things that I was ready to ask, you were already answering. And I think that's going to be a very good strength in consulting, like you knowing how to manage up in that way, because you're already predetermining what people are going to need. And so kudos to you, honestly.
Thank you. Some of the I love that this podcast is called The Intentional Intern, because advice that I would get from people when I would do like informational interviews, or just talking to people in general about careers, was be intentional with your speech, be intentional with who you choose to be around, be intentional with choices that you make. And earlier in my professional development journey, I'm like, I don't want to be intentional with my speech. Like, I like to do a lot of things. Like, I like to talk, blah, 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 blah. But it's really taken on such a whole new meaning for me, because through my experiences, through my internships, through the clubs and activities that I was in college, I really saw the value of using my time intentionally. And I think, again, I talked a lot about turning points, but that was a really big turning point for me, where I'm like, okay, did I spread myself too thin? What can I put my energy into that will give me energy back, if that makes any sense? So, being intentional in speech, being intentional in choices that I make, like, okay, should I go hang out with my friends and watch a movie, or should we all just get together and, I don't know, journal or make PowerPoints. I'm a big fan of a good PowerPoint night, but yeah, everything has a purpose, and it's really finding the purpose behind your decisions and finding the purpose behind what you plan on saying and doing that will help you in the long run.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of PowerPoint parties too.
Yes. We had one where it was like all I put all my friends into it. I think it was like a survivor simulator. And that was fun. So it's like, oh my gosh, like wait, I got voted off the island. I'm like, haha, okay, next. But yeah.
I'm looking forward to my next PowerPoint party with my friends.
Yes.
We were literally just talking about that. So this is
Love it.
reading my mind,
Mhm.
literally. And you speak so much about grounding yourself in purpose and even down to like the PowerPoint party topic. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
I love that for you. And I love that for your friend group too.
Yes.
And speak,
Another Yeah. Another
yeah,
thing that I've really found is like friendships in college are hard. Um, I think the biggest thing is like being intentional with those two. It's like finding the people who like aren't looking to just hang out with you for a second and be like, okay, bye, I'll see you in 30 years. Just really finding people who are willing to like be your friend through when the going gets tough. Because college is not easy. Like everybody, you watch all these movies and TV shows, and it's like, oh, they're all just going out to parties and they're going to like these fabulous like weekend trips and stuff. That's not the reality. And I'm just grateful to have people that were willing to be like, all right, we worked really hard on this financial accounting. That was tough. We worked really hard on this exam. Let's go walk to get ice cream. Or to have people when we were learning coding for one of my classes, people that would help me with that. That was lovely. But yeah, I don't really know if this is like a thing that's been studied. But first few years of college, the COVID years, when everyone would just sit down, there weren't really that many group projects. There weren't many opportunities to interact with the people around you, especially when everyone was on Zoom classes. It was so tough to really just feel the social aspects of the college experience. And it was pretty isolating for the first year. And a half, really. I remember the semester where I felt myself having the semester where I felt myself having actual fun in classes for the first time was the fall of my sophomore year. Like, we were working on group projects. Yes, we were still like FaceTiming each other because we didn't really want to do anything like into close quarters, but I was able to form study groups with people who were in the classes with me. I was able to get to meet people in my major, which was super awesome. And even if everybody talks about like their support system that they love, and like I am guilty of saying that, but really the support system is just the people around you that you can like wave to in the hallway and be like, hey, like how are you? Yeah, it's just really great, especially when you do go to a big school, to have people that are in your classes or major that you can just text if you ever want to rant and be like, hey, that exam was hard, oh my. Because I don't know, like my mom went to college, my dad didn't, but I distinctly remember like calling my dad after like my first day of classes. I think it was like 1 p.m. and he goes, why are you calling me now? Like, aren't you still in school? I'm like, well, yeah, like I have a class at 8:45, then I have a class at noon. And he's like, you're supposed to get out at like 3, right? And it's like it's so funny when people who don't understand like how college actually works are talking about college. I think that was probably my favorite moment of like the first few weeks of college.
that's so precious.
Yeah.
Even in talking about like the levels of having purposeful community around you, even for the people like you have your close friends, you have those that like may not be as close, but you know you could talk about things with them like your classmates. And then
Mhm.
of course like your outer circle in terms of college, like your family members, even if they don't relate and they don't understand, you still know that they're an avenue that you can vent to because they
Yeah.
care about you and they want to support you. And I think that's super like important to just have those dimensions. I
Mhm.
definitely remember having friends in college where, I mean, friends in college still, because I'm still, but just being able to talk to them about anything, but then even like getting acquainted with like the registrars at the front desk, or
Yeah,
even
yeah.
like the janitors. I know they heard me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the people at my that work at the college, like the Darla School of Business, like coffee shop and everything, love them. They come up and be like, "Hey, sweetie, like, do you want a muffin?" I'm like, "Of course, I want a muffin. Like, I love you guys." It was just really a great experience to like be in person and be in those classes because you get to really like become part of your environment, which I think is great. It's
Yeah.
another recommendation I have. Take as many in-person classes as you can for the people that couldn't the first 2 years of college.
And it sounds like a lot of your support and help came from your environment. And so that makes
Mhm.
me think about you're going to a completely new environment soon.
No, yeah. I am super excited. So I don't have a start date set in stone yet, but I will be moving to New York City. I did have an internship in New York City, but that, like I said, was completely, I didn't even consider it to be an option until someone who was working in the city told me about, like, oh, this is a thing that you can do. Like, you can sell these, like, you can have this attainable you can have this route. And I'm like, wait, really? Like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. So I think that when everybody's like, oh, did you want to end up in New York City after graduation? Yes and no. I was actually scrolling through my Snapchat memories and I found a picture of like a sixth grade project or something like that where you had to write about stuff you've done with your family. And like one of the essays about New York City. And it's like, it's so nice, period. It is so cool, period. The buildings are like whatever a sixth grader would say. But I was like, this is so full circle because maybe I didn't have it in my head that I was going to end up there. I was looking into Charlotte, Atlanta, Charleston, like all these cities where I'm like, okay, they have some jobs open. Like maybe I'll go there, maybe I won't. I don't even know. I was even looking into Tampa at one point, I think for like 5 days. I keep saying, like, oh yeah, my life goals change every 5 seconds, but I guess so. But I'm really excited to be in New York. I have some experience with the city. I had my internship there, and then me and my family, like my mom and dad live about 2 hours away, so I'll be able to just catch the Northeast Regional. Big fan of Amtrak. If anybody else is, yeah, catch a Northeast Regional to see them way more often than I do now. So it's just exciting to be back in that environment as well as in an environment that I can create for myself. Yeah, definitely nervous about making friends, rent where I'm going to live, et cetera, et cetera. But it's been really cool to kind of plan out in my head like what that future is going to look like for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think something that is super important that I just would love to ask you about, because
Mhm.
this is something that I feel like is so important, especially with the role that you're going in. I think it's important for everybody in
Mhm.
terms of like personal branding and things like that. But especially being a consultant, I want to know from your perspective if there's one word that you could use to describe yourself right now, like the entirety of yourself. What do you think it would be? I wonder what your consultancy brain is thinking.
Hey. Hmm. Well, the first word that comes to mind is probably adaptable. I really have seen myself in a bunch of different environments. I've been a part of a lot of different teams. I've been a part of like activities that last with 2 hours a day. You're like, okay, bye. I'll see you guys in 3 months, like when we meet again. And then I've been a part of teams that for consulting projects that stay until midnight working on something because we're just that excited about it. I think having that adaptability to be able to be a part of teams with a lot of people who are maybe more introverted than me and people who are have crazy different skill sets. I think it's good to like work on that. And because part of your when you're being adaptable, you can get to learn new skills. For example, I'm part of my school's marketing scholars program, which is a marketing strategy practicum. And the first project that I did as part of that program was for a consumer packaged goods brand of functional beverages that was a hangover cure. And I'm like, okay, I didn't even know they sold those. So I really worked to adapt to learn about that environment. Like, what are the competitors? What are their price points? What are their value propositions and selling points? So, on the other side of that adaptability, Coin is getting to be able to insert your skills and your passions within it. So, as part of that project, somebody was like, "Oh, like what about can design? I know people who are graphic designers, and I can talk to them." I'm like, "Wait, I want to learn to do graphic design. I want to do that." So I worked to create a new can design for that project, just because I found a place where I could work on that and really hone my skills. So, very long-winded answer. I could probably think of like five different words that describe who I am right now, but let's go with that one.
I think that's a really good word considering you're about to move like ways away.
Yes, yes. I
And
know
then,
I'm sad to be leaving South Carolina, but I know I'll always have a home here and always be able to come back and be a part of the USC alum fam. Yeah.
yeah. And anything you're looking forward to in New York beyond your role, like anything you know that you want to visit, anything on your list? What are you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really big into bagels. It's so like it's such a typical New York thing, but during my internship, there were a few places where I'm like, oh my God, I need to visit here. Like, I need to get my little iced vanilla latte and a little bagel, and it will be great. So definitely looking forward to the food. There's some restaurants, obviously other than bagels, that I really want to try. Also, getting involved in the New York community. While I was in the city over the summer, I was part of a walking club called City Girls Who Walk. They're fairly popular, but it was really fun to get to know other people my age who were maybe in the city temporarily or had just moved there and wanted to get to know the environment better. And as part of my consulting project this that I did this past semester, which was for a women's strength and empowerment nonprofit, I actually found out that City Girls Who Walk had a volunteering program that they had just started. So I don't know. I just really like the energy that people have in the city to get to be involved with the community and be involved with other people who are like minded or who are just starting out their careers, being able to help each other, which I think is great. Um, this is like something I totally live by. I don't know if this relates to the question at all, but when I was in high school, I was in choir and we went and sang at a memorial concert for a student who had passed of cancer in the 2000s. And in the song was some of his writing, or in the song we performed was some of his writings that said, to truly enjoy life, cherish time, and actively work to make the world a better place. And that's something I heard when I was, I think, 16 years old, but it is still stuck with me to this day. So I'm really looking forward to enriching the community around me and getting to know people and getting to know myself better and enjoying life, of course.
I love that. And I love that New York is getting to be a new start for you.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
And so I really appreciate you coming to spend time with us today to talk on the podcast about everything you've got going on as a post grad, what was important to you before you graduated, what were some tips and tricks that really motivated you, helped your confidence, and helped support you to be the person that you are today. It's been super insightful on my end and super enlightening on my end to just understand all of the trials that you went through to get to where you are now, but also just your story of really never giving up and finding unique ways to be who you are and find where you needed to be at. So I'm definitely excited to see how you're going to be a better place for a lot of people just as a person in the work that you do as a consultant.
Don't make me cry. That's so nice. Like I said earlier, I just really love the mission of helping to create impact. And I think that you have done such a great job through this podcast and like through your LinkedIn presence. Like I literally found you through LinkedIn. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And it's just great to see people sharing their journeys and sharing the impact that they have created and will continue to create. And I'm just very grateful that young girls or whoever listening are able to look at somebody that's just like them and be like, hey, I can do that one day. Because I really think that, like I said, exposure is the number one way for people to get motivated and to get excited about what they can do in college and beyond.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Intentional Intern Podcast. As always, let me know what or who you guys want to hear from next, and I'll see you guys next time, sharing another student with an amazing story.